Good evening and welcome. It is Thackeray versus Thackeray in Mumbai, specifically because the deadline had to end today. That deadline of removal of loudspeakers for survival and revival of MNS's Raj Thackeray. What did he say? How did it end? I'll be getting you the latest. First, the headlines. Rana couple granted bail, get a relief in the Hanuman Chalisa sedition case, but trouble is far from over. Now the Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation team reaches their residence over an alleged illegal construction issue notice. Rajasthan's Jodhpur remains tense after the clash on Eid festival. Rajasthan government allegedly ignored an intelligence alert on the 2nd of May about a possible communal unrest. Bharatiya Janata Party now gunning for Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot. Prime Minister has to set in Paris today. Spotlight on the new Rafale push. France could offer Indian Navy 4 used Rafale jets. Is this a big French move to trump US for the Navy deal? The city of Hyderabad sinks after just a few hours of rainfall. Streets are waterlogged. Residents are literally using boats to come out of their houses. Reserve Bank of India hikes the repo rate by 40 basis points to 4.40%, which means loan EMI is set to go up for the borrowers. And Sensex also down by more than 1,000 points. And a final top story of the day. Pope Francis slams NATO over Russia-Ukraine war, says NATO barking on Russia's doorstep paved the way for this conflict. So that is how exactly Mumbai looked like today. MNS workers reciting on loudspeaker and playing the Hanuman Chalisa while the Azan call was also on. This while the MNS workers are also protesting. But why is it a big day today? Eid deadline for the loudspeaker removal ended today for Raj Thackeray, MNS chief, and then announced that the ultimatum that he had given is going to continue. And he used also this day to invoke Bala Sahib Thackeray and slam Uddhav Thackeray, questioning his inaction on illegal mocks. Take a look now at the timeline of Thackeray versus Thackeray in Maharashtra. Raj Thackeray bumps up the volume in the loudspeaker debate. Maharashtra Navnirman Sena workers on Wednesday morning played the Hanuman Chalisa on loudspeaker outside mosques at many places, timing it with the azan or the call for prayer. A police crackdown followed that saw many arrests and detentions. MNS chief himself was at home under the watchful eyes of the state police. While Raj Thackeray could not lead the protests against loudspeakers, he lashed out at the Shiv Sena-led government in Maharashtra, that in a hurriedly called press meeting.
1400 या 1500 कुछ मस्जिदें हैं और उसके ऊपर से 135 मस्जिदों के ऊपर सुबह 5 बजे के पहले जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जो बताया वो नियम तोड़कर 135 मस्जिदों के ऊपर सुबह अजान लगाई गई लाउड स्पीकर के ऊपर। मैं पूछ रहा हूं महाराष्ट्र की पुलिस को, इन 135 मस्जिदों के ऊपर आप कौन सी कार्रवाई करने वाले हैं?
Escalating the fight against Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray, Raj invoked his uncle and Uddhav's father, Bala Saheb Thackeray. He tweeted an old video of the Shiv Sena founder, where he was declaring he will end the namaz in public places.
ज्या दिवशी माझं सरकार या महाराष्ट्रामध्ये येईल त्यावेळेला रस्त्यामधले नमाज आम्ही पडल्या बंद केल्याशिवाय राहणार नाही. कारण धर्म असा असावा लागतो की तो राष्ट्र विकासाच्या आड येता कामा नये, लोकांना त्याचा उपद्रव होता कामा नये. आमच्या हिंदू धर्माचा कुठे जर कोणाला उपद्रव होत असेल त्यांनी मला येऊन सांगावं, आम्ही त्याचा बंदोबस्त करायला तयार आहोत. लाऊड स्पीकर मशिदीवरचे खाली येतील, बंद.
The Shiv Sena hit back with another set of Bal Thackeray videos slamming Raj Thackeray.
पूर्वी ज्या स्टाईलमध्ये बोलत होतो अशी ही स्टाईल माझी कोणीतरी उचलली म्हणतात, मला माहित नाही कोणी. म्हणजे मी माझ्या स्टाईलमध्ये जर उद्या बोललो तर मी त्यांची कॉपी करतोय असं म्हणणार तुम्ही कदाचित. एक विनोद आठवतो, मराठी मराठी मराठी. अरे झाल्यानं तुमचा जन्म झाला नव्हता त्यावेळेला मी मराठी काढलेली आहे महाराष्ट्रामध्ये.
The Shiv Sena, in no mood to relent, launched a fresh offensive accusing Raj Thackeray of becoming a BJP puppet.
त्यांना बाळासाहेब किती आठवतात त्याआधी पाहावं लागेल. खरे बाळासाहेब ज्यांनी बाळासाहेबांना सोडलं, ज्यांनी बाळासाहेबांचा विचार सोडला, शिवसेनेच्या पाठीत ज्या भारतीय जनता पक्षानं खंजीर बसला, त्यांचं उपवस्त्र म्हणून जे राहत आहे त्याने शिवसेनेला काय अंगीकार.
The Bharatiya Janata Party, meanwhile, has thrown its weight behind its new friend, Raj Thackeray.
अगर उत्तर प्रदेश में मस्जिदों और मंदिरों से लाउड स्पीकर हटाए जा सकते हैं, उनका वॉल्यूम रेगुलेट किया जा सकता है, तो महाराष्ट्र में क्यों नहीं किया जा सकता? क्योंकि वहां की आघाड़ी सरकार तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति कर रही है. वहां पर शिवसेना को आज हनुमान चालीसा से डर लगने लगा है. बाला साहब ठाकरे की पार्टी आज हनुमान चालीसा से भाग रही है. ये बड़ा राजनीतिक मुद्दा है महाराष्ट्र में.
The battle of Thackerays could have major political ramifications, starting with the BMC elections later this year. The BJP is in a prestige fight to topple the Shiv Sena from its citadel. But can Raj Thackeray, who has so far been an election dud, make a big impact and dent the Shiv Sena votes? That remains to be seen. Bureau Report, India Today. Let's quickly go on the ground in Mumbai to understand what does the city look like today. Paras Dama has been tracking since the past few days this loudspeaker politics that is now ensuing there in the city. Paras, is this a time of perhaps a low profile for Raj Thackeray, or do you think he's only escalated the matter with his announcement? What next now for Raj Thackeray, and what did he say exactly today in that press meeting?
In speaking with media, he just said one thing, the most important thing. He said, this Andolan is not over yet. This is not a one-day Andolan that I had started. I will fight till the last speaker will be of the mosque. He said that, and particularly he has focused more on this word, that it was not a one-day Andolan. He has said that he will continuously fight for what he has started, because he believes in Hindutva, and the way he is just on the he is just trying to take another stance, or another revival. We can say that it's another revival for Raj Thackeray in the political community right now, because we had seen Raj Thackeray a few years ago, and after that, after the loudspeaker controversy, he has been into active politics again. So right now his main focus is Hindutva politics, and Hindutva politics is loudspeaker that he is fighting for. He has
All right, Paras, also just a quick question here, an added one. How is there a reaction that has come from the government, from the Shiv Sena, from NCP or Congress, or any of the netas specifically who Raj Thackeray is targeting over this?
Right, after the press conference, Sanjay Raut, Shiv Sena leader, has also slammed Raj Thackeray. He has used one word, this is the black day. After whatever happening from last 15 days, Raut is already targeting Raj Thackeray about what he's speaking in Aurangabad, he's speaking in rallies and all that. For all that, Sanjay Raut is already slamming Raj Thackeray, but after the press conference, whatever he had spoken in the press conference, whatever he has said, after that, all the political leaders of Shiv Sena is speaking. Sanjay Raut has also spoken and he has said this is the black day in the history of Mumbai, Maharashtra and the country.
Paras, keep tracking all the latest on that. Very interesting days ahead, and this time clearly becoming a political face-off. Thank you so much, Paras, for the latest. So at this point, Raj Thackeray says this is not a religious issue, this is a social issue for all. While Uddhav Thackeray and the government basically is saying that this is a deliberate attempt, although political, but also to disturb law and order and communal harmony. It's a high decibel face-off. But how did this loudspeaker debate start in Mumbai? Here's a quick look back to how Raj Thackeray used the mosque loudspeakers to increase the volume of his political plans. Here in this news report, take a look.
पण या मशिनींवरती लागलेले भोंगे हे खाली उतरवावेच लागतील. या सरकारला हा निर्णय घ्यावाच लागेल. नाही तर आजच सांगतोय, आत्ता सांगतोय, ज्या मशिनीच्या बाहेर हे भोंगे लागतील त्याच्या दुप्पट समोर स्पीकर लावायचे आणि हनुमान चालीसा लावायचा.
With this speech, Raj Thackeray was back into action. As loudspeaker debate raged in other states, Raj Thackeray raised the decibel level in Maharashtra against the Aghadi government. Maharashtra Navnirman Sena workers played the Hanuman Chalisa on a loudspeaker outside the Shiv Sena party headquarters in Mumbai. And their party chief announced the deadline.
तुम्हाला जो काही नमाज पढायचा आहे, तुम्हाला जी काय अजान द्यायची घरावर द्या, आणि जर सांगून जर तुम्हाला समजत नसेल की हे भोंगे खाली उतरवा, तुम्ही आम्हाला विनाकारण त्रास देऊ नका, हे जर नीट सांगून समजत नसेल तर तुमच्या मशिदीच्या बाहेर आम्ही हनुमान चालीसा लावणार म्हणजे लावणार.
Positioning himself as the counter to the Shiv Sena, his target was direct: cousin brother and State Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray. The Bharatiya Janata Party leaders came out in support of the MNS chief, raising the pitch on Hindutva to counter the Shiv Sena. The ultimatum was repeated at Raj Thackeray's May 1st show of strength in Aurangabad, the same city where coincidentally his uncle Balasaheb Thackeray started his political innings.
सर्व देशवासियांना, माझी सर्व हिंदू बांधवांना, भगिनींना माझी विनंती आहे, जर हे 3 तारखेपर्यंत ऐकले नाही, 4 तारखेला हनुमान चालीसा प्रत्येक ठिकाणी मला ऐकू आलंच पाहिजे. पोलिसांकडनं वाटल्यास विस्तर परवानगी घ्या, लाऊडस्पीकरची परवानगी घ्या, त्यांना द्यावीच लागते.
With municipal elections fast approaching in Mumbai, can Raj Thackeray dent the Shiv Sena enough to dislodge it from power? And will this battle of the And on the final leg of his Europe visit, that is Prime Minister Narendra Modi now leaving for Paris. Remember, he's already been to Denmark, from where he's now heading over to France. This is going to be a very special meeting, also the last leg of his Europe visit in what has been clearly a packed itinerary of these 3 days of tour there. So remember, just about a few hours ago, he was also in Copenhagen, where he not only met all the top dignitaries, but also the royal family, and interacted with the business honchos and the Indian diaspora. The first day, of course, remember, was in Germany, in Berlin, where he interacted with, again, the senior-most officials, the delegation and the diaspora as well, receiving a rousing welcome. So these are some of the latest visuals on your screen just about short while ago. But meeting Emmanuel Macron and other senior officials of the government in France, and what precisely will be on agenda for India, for France, is going to be very interesting to see. But as of now, what we are picking up is that Prime Minister Modi has taken that flight and is heading back. So we'll be constantly updating you over this visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, going back to our reports and highlights coming in from Mumbai, it is important to understand who Raj Thackeray is and where is he today. Because remember, about 2 decades ago, it appeared that at the turn of century, Raj Thackeray was all set to inherit the mantle from Shiv Sena Tiger and his uncle Balasaheb Thackeray. But in the past 20 years, did all the political calculations turn upside down for him? Today, he stands at other side of the political spectrum of Shiv Sena, its chief, his cousin Uddhav Thackeray, and the Maharashtra Nirman Sena chief. Is he a challenger? Could he be a challenger to Shiv Sena? Take a look about this profile of Raj Thackeray.
ज्या दिवशी माझं सरकार या महाराष्ट्रामध्ये येईल त्यावेळेला रस्त्यामधले नमाज आम्ही पडल्यात बंद केल्याशिवाय राहणार नाही.
This old threat of the legendary Shiv Sena chief, brought to life nearly a decade after his death by not his chosen successor, but the nephew who always aspired to be his chosen leader, Raj Thackeray. Born to the younger brother of Bal Thackeray, Raj was his uncle's shadow in growing years. A graduate of fine arts from the JJ Institute of Applied Arts, Raj Thackeray started his career much like his uncle, as a cartoonist in the weekly magazine Marmik, run by Balasaheb Thackeray. Politics was in his blood, and he had the legendary Maratha satrap as his mentor. Raj Thackeray launched the youth wing of the Shiv Sena and came to prominence in the 1990 Maharashtra Assembly election. Raj's cousin and Balasaheb's son Uddhav Thackeray at this point of time was working hard to establish himself as a photographer. Both cousins graduated from the same school, and it would take another decade before the rift started to show. Uddhav Thackeray would lead the Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation election for the Shiv Sena in 2002. Raj would start getting sidelined despite his years of hard work. In next few years, it would be clear that his uncle and the aging Shiv Sena chief's chosen political successor was his son Uddhav, and not the nephew who had the grassroots support. 9th March 2006. Raj Thackeray broke away from the Shiv Sena after years of tussle and launched his own party, Maharashtra Nirman Sena, the MNS. Initially written off as a fledgling of Shiv Sena, Raj Thackeray established himself as a challenger to Uddhav with his successful 2008 anti-North Indian campaign. He led the violent movement against migrants from Uttar Pradesh and Bihar working and living in Maharashtra.
देखिए उत्तर प्रदेश की पानी पूरी खाते वक्त राज ठाकरे को देखिए कैसे पानी पूरी खाएंगे ये उत्तर अरे शांतरा म्हणून ते चिडले.
Next, he led a successful strong campaign in favor of business signboards in Maharashtra being written in the Marathi language. 2 years later, in 2010, MNS along with Shiv Sena banned Australian cricketers participating in IPL 3 from playing in Mumbai as a protest against the attack on Indian students in Australia. This made many hope for the reunion of the Thackerays, but that was not to be. 2 years later in 2012, when Bala Saheb Thackeray breathed his last, Uddhav Thackeray picked up his mantle. Thackeray cousins were united in their grief and family loss, but remained poles apart in their political dominance of Maharashtra. Raj Thackeray became the sworn political opponent of Uddhav and Shiv Sena in the state. He has not been able to cause much electoral dent in the poll politics, but has been the agitator who has been a thorn in the side for his cousin and now the Chief Minister of Maharashtra.
की या 135 मशिदींवरती मुंबईतल्या खास करून महाराष्ट्रातले तिकडचे जे काही कमिशनर असतील ते बघतील, पण मुंबईचे पोलीस कमिशनर, मुंबईचे पोलीस हे या 135 मशिदींवरती काय कारवाई करणार आहेत आणि करणार आहेत की नाही करणार आहेत ते एकदा समजू देत.
With this, the road ahead just pulls the cousins away from each other politically even more and establishes Raj Thackeray as the staunch right-wing agitator and the successor of hardcore Hindutva politics of Bala Saheb. Bureau Report, India Today. So remember, this is the big Thackeray versus Thackeray battle in Mumbai, and who eventually will benefit, and could it be advantage BJP as well as elections are approaching. But that was not all for loudspeaker debate in Mumbai. I'm going to now show you what was another angle to this. Remember the Rana couple? The independent member of parliament Navneet Kaur Rana, on April 23rd, walking out, getting arrested with that defiance of chanting Hanuman Chalisa outside Matoshri. Her husband, independent member of Legislative Assembly, Ravi Rana as well, shouting, sloganeering, looking like the next big face of Hindutva politics. Today, May 4th, just few days later, they were granted bail with a 50,000 surety bond. But it was not the same look on her face. Quietly making an exit, sitting in her vehicle and reaching their residence where the BMC team is waiting to search. Also remember, this is because the court has made a condition that the bail is only if they choose not to talk to the media anymore. What will now happen to the Rana couple and their politics remains to be seen. Shocking scenes coming in from the Bengal High Court right outside it. Take a look at this. This is one of the senior-most Congress Member of Parliament and lawyer P. Chidambaram, who's also been a former minister in the Union government. He faced protests by lawyers of the Congress legal cell outside the Calcutta High Court. There is uproar within the Congress because this is where the protest started. Chidambaram is representing the Bengal government. The Bengal government, which is led by the Trinamool Congress, in the High Court over a PIL, over a metro dairy case. This is how it gets interesting. This PIL was filed by LOP therein, and who's also now the Bengal Congress President, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary. So this is coming across clearly as a big embarrassment and a possible rift. Remember, he's as a senior leader, as a lawyer, representing not the Congress party, but the Trinamool government, the Bengal government, against the PIL that was filed by LOP, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, who's also the Bengal Congress Pradesh Committee President. Suryagni Roy tracking all the latest on that. But first, listen in to what exactly happened there on the ground.
This is something which has not been done by you. The man was filed by the PCC President, and you are here to save the Trinamool Congress. Trinamool Congress. Trinamool Congress, you have came here to save the Trinamool Congress. Yes, absolutely. Mr. Chidambaram, you come back. That the party is suffering in West Bengal. It is just because of leaders like you. It's just because of the leaders like you. You are a member of the National Congress. Yes, absolutely. You are playing with the sentiments of the Congress workers and being a member of Parliament led by the National Congress. Because of you people, because of certain persons like you, that the party is not being able to stand up.
Let's go across on the ground to my colleague Suryagni Rao. Suryagni, what exactly happened? What are you picking up? Because he's a fairly known face, a senior face within the party. And then there is a legal case, a responsibility that he's also fulfilling. But what do you think really happened there on the ground?
Well, Pooja, the word that should sum up this entire story is embarrassment, and it's an embarrassment not only for Chidambaram himself, but for the Congress, for the Pradesh Congress Party as well. The reason why I'm telling you this is because what we saw today in front of the Calcutta High Court, where Chidambaram was, who is taking up the case of the Metro Diary for the state government, which is led by Trinamool, as you rightly mentioned. The case was filed, the PIL rather was filed by Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, who is a senior congressman. He's an MP, he's a leader of opposition,
yes.
leader of Congress at the Lok Sabha, and he's also the state president of Congress over here in West Bengal. This case, it dates back to 2019 when this PIL was filed. The stake of the West Bengal government was sold off to a private body of Metro Diary, and what Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary has been stating in the PIL is that it had been sold at a very low price, and that is why the PIL was filed. Now the state government had hired P. Chidambaram, a man who's a very, very popular Congress face, and interestingly, Chidambaram was attacking the Trinamool Congress just a while back when he was campaigning in Goa. So it comes down to a very big embarrassment for the Congress, be it nationally or over here in West Bengal, because
yes.
the person who is taking the side of the government that is led by Trinamool Congress and Mamata Banerjee is a congressman against a PIL which has been filed by a congressman, and Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary is known for his verbal attacks on the state government and Mamata Banerjee day in, day out. So once again, Pooja, to sum it up, this is what happened, and it is coming out to be a very major
because clearly many would say this is also a
overall.
legal responsibility, a professional responsibility that you're fulfilling. But do you think that TMC government could actually be using in some way a senior Congress face, a veteran lawyer, to show that he's actually defending the Bengal government led by Trinamool against the PIL filed by the Congress?
Well, absolutely, and somewhere this is what politics is all about, and we all are pretty aware of that. But interestingly, the Trinamool Congress has an array of very senior lawyers who were deployed. When we saw when the CBI and the ED were calling these Trinamool
yes.
heavyweight leaders, the ministers of West Bengal government, be it Firhad Hakim or Subrata Mukherjee, when they were arrested by CBI, you saw a huge deployment of the Trinamool legal cell, which include their MPs, be it Kalyan Banerjee or whosoever you name them.
And
they are very, very senior Supreme Court
member of Parliament, yet they choose a senior leader who's such a known face of the Congress party, and also, has been asking for reforms within the Congress for the longest time. But stay on with me, Suryagini. I want our viewers just to take a look at these visuals, these angry, agitating Congress legal cell lawyers asking, why are you representing the Bengal government against a PIL filed by the...
This is something which has not been done by you. The matter was filed by the Mr. President, and you are here to save the Trinamool Congress. Trinamool Congress, you have came here to save the Trinamool Congress. Yes, absolutely. Mr. Chidambaram, you go back. That the party is suffering in West Bengal. It is just because of leaders like you. It's just because of leaders like you. You are a member of the National Congress. Yes, absolutely. You are playing with the sentiments of the Congress workers and being a member of Parliament led by the National Congress. Because of you people, because of certain persons like you, that the party is not being able to stand up. This is something which has not been done by you. The matter was filed by the Mr. President, and you are here to save the Trinamool Congress. Trinamool Congress, you have came here to save the Trinamool Congress. Yes, absolutely. Mr. Chidambaram, you go back. That the party is suffering in West Bengal. It is just because of leaders like you. It's just because of leaders like you. You are a member of the National Congress. Yes, absolutely. You are playing with the sentiments of the Congress workers and being a member of Parliament led by the National Congress. Because of you people, because of certain persons like you, that the party is not being able to stand up. This is something which The job not have been done by you. The man was filed by the PCC president, and you are here to save the Trinamool Congress. Trinamool Congress. Trinamool Congress. You came here to save the Trinamool Congress.
So angry Congress lawyers there saying, go Chidambaram, go back. And that it's because of people like you that the Congress party is not united. I want to thank Suryagini Roy for getting us all the latest on this story. Suryagini, do let us know if there are reactions coming in from the Congress or, interestingly, from the TMC government as well. Thank you so much, Suryagini. Final day of Prime Minister Modi's Europe tour, and PM Modi has left already now for Paris to hold bilateral talks with France's President Emmanuel Macron. PM Modi is the first world leader to be hosted by Macron after his re-election victory as the president of the country. Now remember, France is India's second biggest defense partner after Russia. So ahead of this meeting, in a big boost to Indo-French ties, France has upgraded 4 naval Rafales to the latest standard and is planning to offer them to the Indian Navy for the new INS Vikrant carrier that gets commissioned next year. These are the visuals on your screen of him leaving for Paris after, of course, bidding goodbye to the delegation there in Denmark. Earlier, Prime Minister Modi also held bilateral talks with Sweden, Iceland, Norway in Copenhagen, the Nordic summit. Also, Prime Minister Modi took part in the second India-Nordic summit.
Well, I think India and Iceland have a lot of opportunities, and not least when it comes to the issues of climate cooperation, when it comes to geothermal energy, where we already have a cooperation which we should deepen and expand. We have possibilities in deepening the cooperation when it comes to carbon binding. We have already also a cooperation when it comes to the fisheries sector, where we can do more when it comes to innovation. And there both India and Iceland can share with each other knowledge and capacities really to produce added value out of our fish. Then we also talked about other issues like culture, gender equality, and other areas where we actually have a lot of knowledge to share and can deepen our very good relation.
Now the loudest cheer clearly came from the Indian diaspora, the dhol nagaras and the colour. But there was also an outreach from the Prime Minister, and all of this, remember, in the presence of the Danish Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen. Prime Minister Narendra Modi extolling India's achievements and, of course, receiving appreciation in return.
साथियों, दुनिया भर में फैले भारतीय डायस्पोरा को अगर मिला लिया जाए तो उनकी संख्या कई देशों की आबादी से अधिक होगी। उनका पहनावा, खान-पान भले ही अलग-अलग हो, लेकिन हमारी सोशल हार्मनी, वननेस और को एग्जिस्टेंस की जो वैल्यूज सभी भारतीयों में एक समान है, और यही हमारी ताकत है। और जिनकी रूट्स किसी भी तरह मां भारती से जुड़ी हैं, वे स्वाभाविक तरह से लोकतंत्र और रूल ऑफ लॉ के प्रति सम्मान रखते ही हैं। एक भारतीय दुनिया में कहीं भी जाए, वो अपनी कर्मभूमि के लिए, उस देश के लिए पूरी ईमानदारी से कंट्रीब्यूट करता है। जब मैंने डिजिटल इंडिया की बात की थी, तो कुछ लोग कई तरह के सवाल उठाते थे। हिंदुस्तान में डिजिटल 5-6 साल पहले हम पर कैपिटा डेटा कंजम्पशन के मामले में दुनिया के सबसे पिछड़े देशों में से एक थे। ये मैं बहुत दूर की बात नहीं कर रहा हूं, 5-6 साल पहले। लेकिन आज स्थिति एकदम से बदल गई है। अनेक बड़े देश मिलकर जितना पर कैपिटा मोबाइल डेटा कंज्यूम करते हैं, उससे ज्यादा हम भारत में करते हैं। भारतीयता सबका साथ, सबका और सबका। अब देखिए घर घर बात पहुंच चुकी है और डेनमार्क में भी गूंज रही है। सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका विश्वास और सबका प्रयास, फार्मेसी ऑफ द वर्ल्ड। इस भूमिका में भारत ने मुश्किल समय में पूरी दुनिया का साथ दिया है। दुनिया के अनेक देशों को दवाइयां भेजी हैं ताकि हम संकट के समय मानवता के इस काम में पीछे न रह जाएं, दुनिया को संकट के समय मदद करें, ये सपना लेकर के काम करते रहें।
And India today will ensure all the latest updates coming in from Paris as well as and when Prime Minister Modi lands there. Now bringing you some other stories as well. This is after a spell of a scorching heat wave, heavy rainfall lashed the city of Hyderabad today morning. Called a high-tech city, but Hyderabad, just facing that heavy downpour of few hours, left many areas waterlogged in and around the city. Take a look at those visuals. People literally using boats to go from one location to another or to leave their house. Waterlogging reported in areas of Madina Nagar, Dhobi Ghat, Yakutpura, and with using these inflated rubber boats, clearly referring to how the situation is. Remember, there are gusty winds, uprooted trees that has also led to power outage and blackout in some areas. Areas like Bahadurpura constituency were badly hit with flood water entering into the houses. According to the Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation data, the city witnessed unprecedented rainfall of 72.3 millimeter in 1 hour. Politics continues over the communal clashes unfolded in Jodhpur on the occasion of Eid festival. Curfew has now been imposed and is still on in the wake of those clashes. Internet facilities have been suspended as well. In total, till now, 133 people have been taken into arrest so far in connection to the instigation of the violence. Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot chaired a high-level meeting looking into the clashes. This comes at a time when the BJP and the Congress are already indulging in a face-off. Remember, there was stone pelting and subsequent violence that was reported, but now government is facing a backlash that if, and it appears now, there was intelligence input that there could be attempts to fuel communal clashes, and stones were also deposited on terrace. The Congress is blaming the BJP for instigating violence. Ashok Gehlot is claiming this is BJP behind instances of violence across Rajasthan.
ये जो धज्जियां उड़ा रहे हैं संविधान के देश के अंदर, जिस रूप में ये लोकतंत्र की हत्या कर रहे हैं, पूरा देश देख रहा है। पूरा मुल्क के साहित्यकार, पत्रकार, लेखक सब चिंतित हैं और इनको कोई शर्म ही नहीं आ रही है। खुला नाच हो रहा है, दंगे भड़क रहे हैं, कानून की धज्जियां उड़ रही है, क्योंकि इनको घमंड आ गया बुलडोजर के माध्यम से।
अगर ऑर्केस्ट्रेड है, अगर भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने कराए हैं, भारतीय जनता पार्टी के राष्ट्रीय नेताओं के इंस्ट्रक्शंस पे हुए हैं, भारतीय जनता पार्टी के हम सब कार्यकर्ताओं ने किया है, तो आपकी पुलिस आंख पे पट्टी बांध करके क्यों बैठी है? और आप गृह मंत्री होने के नाते आप क्यों चुपचाप बैठे हैं, क्यों कार्रवाई नहीं करते हैं?
कल दोपहर से ऐसा कोई घटना नहीं हुई, परिस्थिति अभी कंट्रोल में है और पर्याप्त जाब्ता लगे हुए हैं। हमने मोबाइल लगाया, फिक्स पिकेट है, हमारे काफ़ी उच्च अधिकारी आए हैं, उनके निर्देशन में भी हम लोगों ने काम किया और मुझे लगता है हमने पर्याप्त जाब्ता लगा रखे हैं। मैं जनता से ये अपील करूंगा कि आप शांति बनाए रखें।